This is a Pele Media podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Goonies Minute. Goonies Minute is the fan podcast where we chronicle and overanalyze and explore the film Goonies minute by minute. I'm Brady.
And this is Chris.
And today we're covering minute number 30. Chris, how you doing? How was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. Got a chance to go fishing a little bit.
Yeah, where?
Just around town here, around Bluebonnet.
Okay. That's more of like a bayou area.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like just you can even see like alligators.
Yeah, they've got largemouth bass in there.
That's so crazy because there's residential areas that back up to that, and you've got like full-size alligators and stuff.
Yeah,
right there.
I was hoping to find an alligator to take home as a pet.
Yeah, you were just going to catch it with your rod and reel? That would have worked.
With my bare hands.
That's how it works. All right, you want to get into the minute?
Hey, let's get into the minute.
Let's do it. In the previous minute, we saw the Goonies approach the restaurant even after hearing 2 gunshots. Chunk made every effort to stop them, but was eventually distracted by a soda machine on the front porch. At 30 minutes, we see Data, Mouth, and Mikey peering in through a window to see the Fratellis carrying a heavy bag into the kitchen. At 30 minutes and 15 seconds, Chunk jumps off the porch to investigate the open garage door. At 30 minutes and 20 seconds, he begins to list off everything that he sees. He sees an ORV with bullet holes. He suddenly comes to the realization that this is the same vehicle he witnessed earlier in the high-speed police chase. In a panic, he takes off to the porch to tell the rest of the gang. At 30 minutes and 40 seconds, the doors slam shut behind them. They spin around to find Ma Fratelli staring them down. She asks how long they've been looking through the window. Mouth responds with, long enough to see that you need about 400 Roach motels in this place. At 30 minutes and 55 seconds, Jake furiously storms out of the kitchen screaming about how he can't create with the rundown kitchen. He stops ranting when he sees the 4 boys. They now find themselves caught between Ma Fratelli and Jake. And thus ends minute 30 of the Goonies. So, this scene, this is a prime example of the beauty of the movies by minutes format, and the fact that I'm able to watch this movie now and put things together that have always just kind of gone right by me, because I've been seeing this thing as long as I can remember, so I'm never really thinking about this kind of stuff. There's a moment where Chunk goes down off the porch, and he opens up the garage and sees the Jeep, and he says, like, oh, puts it together, ORV, bullet holes. I have always just thought he's in there saying, hey, here's a car. I know the kind of car it is. Oh, and there's bullet holes. This is trouble. But no, he's thinking about the events he witnessed earlier.
Yes.
The shootout.
Remember I had mentioned that was one of the first foreshadowings that we saw. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but here's the thing. Never did I catch that until I watched it by the minute and saw it the first time. It's like, oh, that's what the deal is.
And, here's the thing is, like, I'm sure... I'm just an idiot, so something like that would probably breeze right by me anyway, and I wouldn't catch it. But I'm sure we have plenty of listeners who are,
like, how can you not?
Yeah, how could you have not put that together?
But I think it's interesting when he notices that the bullet holes, the music that starts to play, because what happens is when he's like saying chase ORV, and the music that starts to play is like chase music, which is kind of interesting, and it builds a crescendo, and then he goes to try to run to them as they're going inside the restaurant, and Data's the last one about to go in, but it's like Chunk can't it's like he's so frightened, he can't get the words, he's like, he's like, he's mouthing it, but nothing's coming out, and so everybody goes in, then he's trying to grab Data, and then Mikey comes back to say, come on, and drags him in.
Yeah. And even, in the next minute, whenever they finally sit down, Chunk is trying to relay the information to him, and he just can't get the words out. And about the time that he's able to do it, Ma Fratelli slams the glasses of water down. So if he was just able to get his words together.
Right, and it's an interesting theme of, because he was the one that didn't want to go in here in the first place.
Right.
He was afraid. Then they have the gunshots, he's afraid. Then he's saying they're going to kill us when they're walking around the porch of the restaurant. Then he does it again, but again, I think it's that theme of, here's a guy that's always making up stories, and they don't believe him.
And I'm wondering if they had listened to him there on the porch and heard him say, the car is in here that was in the story I saw earlier. If they might have said, like, there might be some legitimacy to this, if that would have stopped them from going in.
That's the thing. I feel like I'm the type of person that if I really am adamant or believe in something, I demand your attention.
Mm-hmm.
I won't
You
let
do.
anything happen. I will demand your attention.
Yep.
But Chunk is the type of person that he's loud, but he doesn't demand your attention. He's loud, but he gets walked over.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's kind of what's happening here. But he doesn't even have a chance to be loud because he can't get the words out. So his actions are fear, but his words, who's to say even if he could have got it out, but would they have, they weren't going to even stop long enough
Yeah.
for him to be able to explain something, which there's no way, even if he wasn't hoarse when he was trying to speak this, do you really think he could have articulated that?
Yeah, and even still, I mean, they're so Mikey is so focused.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
nothing
yes,
that's going to
yes.
come between him and the rich stuff and saving Astoria. And it's especially something, one of Chunk's little tall tales is going to be the last thing. So no matter what he does, that's what's so poignant about this is no matter how convincing he is, they still wouldn't believe it. They're still going to walk right into this mess.
Absolutely.
That's how blinded Mikey is by his quest. And it's ironic because look who thought that way so many hundreds of years earlier, and look where they are now.
Exactly.
So,
kind of interesting. So Ma Fratelli sneaks from behind,
yeah.
and I try to think about, what type of fear. Have I ever been in a situation like that? And I don't know if you do that too. I try to put myself in their shoes.
Oh, yeah,
to see how I would react. And then I try to look back to, okay, have I been in a situation like that? I try to think about that, and it's like if I was looking in through that window and I see that big old bag, even if I don't know that's a body or whatever, but if I see the people, the way the Fratellis looked, there's no way I'm walking in that restaurant.
Yeah.
But then again, if it was something where I felt like, and I think to Mikey, he almost feels like saving this house is saving his life.
Yeah.
So put myself in a situation that, okay, the only way that my life is saved or my friends' lives are saved is by finding this treasure. If I put myself in that situation, then I probably would go in the restaurant. You see where I'm coming from
I do,
and
yeah.
what I'm thinking about? Obviously, it was just an adventure. There was no end goal other than just exploring.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go in that restaurant if I see those people in there.
Right. But if this is something that could lead to saving the day, saving the town, then it's worth it. Then I got to do it.
That's the thing how you have to separate it
Exactly.
when you try to put yourself in that situation.
Which just gives you,
Would you do it to save your life?
Right. And which just, again, paints Mikey as more and more and more of a captain, of an adventurer, of
Right.
someone who takes chances
Right.
for the sake of some sort of greater picture. And so, yeah, it makes sense that he would have gone in, and the other guys would have followed him.
Another thing that I want to talk about. So, Mom Fratelli's right there, and then Mike, or no, I'm sorry, not Mikey. Jake comes up, and he's
Yeah.
furious. And this is part of what I had talked about early, that he has that personality. He has that Jekyll and Hyde personality.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably the most violent one, but he can also be the kindest one.
Yeah.
And it can flip like a switch at a moment's notice. And here's a perfect example of seeing that. When he comes up, he says, "How am I supposed to create?" Now,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's creating.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now,
Would
look,
you love to know that?
there were two guys going in there, and we
Yes.
only see the one in the freezer.
Right.
So what he's trying to create and cook could have been a human
I
being.
mean, and here's the thing: is he trying to cook?
Yeah, he just says
I
create.
don't know what I'm trying to create. He's really angry, and that's what I was saying. I was like, what in the world is
Jesus.
he talking about at that point in time?
Yeah, and we do see him later throw that tray of hors d'oeuvres down by Sloth, but the fact that he is who he is and has such a I have him written down and defined as a Renaissance man. And the fact that he's got an ego, he is that full of himself and talented, to think that he's to say, okay, let me totally reword this. To hear him say, "How am I supposed to create?" matched with what an ego we see this guy have and how ruthless he is, only leads me to believe that he was going to be doing more than cooking food. I mean, he considers himself an artist, a Renaissance man, and I just have to imagine that there's more to his creation than just cuisine.
Yeah, and maybe they're going to feed one of those guys to Sloth.
That very well could have been it. The tray that he does throw down to Sloth could have very well been the other agent.
We don't know.
We don't know.
That's also interesting. And a couple other questions, because that's all I have as far as what's actually happening in the minute. What do the Fratellis know about the restaurant and the treasure, if anything? Like, do they know that it's
The fireplace.
like, yeah?
Do they know that
like,
that's there?
Did they just randomly select this? I mean, or does the person that originally knew that put the restaurant, that knew why they put the restaurant there, they just happen to be associated with the Fratellis? Or the Fratellis just, this place has been shut down and they're just using it for their high. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of, I was just kind of thinking about some different things, because you see the counterfeit machine
Yes.
stuff later, and you obviously assume that the Fratellis are behind that.
Yeah. Or has it just been a hideout for criminals, for criminal activity for decades?
Which is why, whenever there's criminal activity, that would be why the FBI agents go there.
Yeah. But anyway, as far as this minute goes, that is all that I have. How about you?
Yeah, that's it for me.
All right, cool. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today for minute number 30, and be sure to tune back in with us tomorrow for minute number 31. And until then, I'm Brady.
And this is Chris.
And we're here to remind you that Goonies never say die. Goonies Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the show, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can find us at GooniesMinute.com, Facebook.com/GooniesMinute, Twitter.com/GooniesMinute, and at Instagram @GooniesMinute. You can contact us at GooniesMinute@gmail.com. You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at patreon.com/PeleMedia. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/PeleMedia and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/PeleMedia.